Hi, I'm Mike Yanessa, and welcome to another episode of Car Stories. As you can see, we're not in the shop this week. We are in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. We're on top of the hill, looking over the show field, and we're with Mike Garland. And Mike Garland's going to tell us a little bit about Carlisle events. Mike, thanks for joining us here today.
Mike, thanks for being here, and thanks for bringing the mic to talk to Mike with Mike. This is
whoa,
awesome.
Hey.
I love it. So, Carlisle Events. First of all, who we are an event promoter. We host and promote some of the largest classic and collector car events in the world. You're at the Carlisle GM Nationals, and while that may not be the biggest show on our season schedule, it's still one of the biggest shows of its type on the East Coast. Now, as we talk today, it's day one of the two-day event, so there's still plenty of people coming in, but by the time this is all said and done with, the National Parts Depot show field is going to have over 1,000 cars spanning more than 100 years of the history of the GM and Chevrolet brands.
Wow, that's really cool. And we have stuff here like the Crackle Fest. I'm going to try to see if we can catch that yet. Tell us about that.
Well, so Bruce Larson, NHRA legend and Central Pennsylvania native, hosts what is now legally and officially called Nitro Fest. We had called it what you had referenced prior, but a couple of years back we received a nice letter from some people above us, and that prompted a name change.
Okay.
So Nitro Fest is what happens here at the show, and it's where he starts up one of his top fuel cars, and the people that are standing around it get that real sensory experience to feel it, smell it, hear it. You certainly don't want to touch in this case, but it is a body moving experience.
Wow, that's really neat. You can't see that anywhere, I'll tell you. You can't get up close. Bruce has been on our show before. Great guy, very personable. He's just one of the many people that you might meet. Tomorrow, I believe there's going to be a celebrity from what's his name again?
It's Aaron Kaufman. Aaron Kaufman is a welder and fabricator by trade, and he still does that in his Dallas area shop. But Aaron Kaufman also rose to fame on a TV show called Fast and Loud with Richard Rawlings, and also Gas Monkey Garage.
Right.
Aaron had a few projects of his own, but what Aaron actually is doing this weekend, which is kind of cool, is he's coming to us from Denver, Colorado, spending the day and signing autographs, then going back to Denver, where on Sunday the 27th, he will have run in the 99th offering of the Pikes Peak Hill Climb. So from our stage to almost 15,000 feet above sea level in less than 24 hours.
In less than 24 hours. Wow, that's the kind of stuff that you'll find here. Every event that Carlisle has, whether it be Ford, Chrysler, GM, Springfield, there's so much things to offer. And it's not just about the car guy. There's celebrities here. There's the women's Oasis, where your wives can go check out, some women products. There's a kids playland, and every show's different. All that information is available on the internet. You can find out which show that you'd like to come to, but you got to come to Carlisle. It's got to be the world's biggest car event.
Well, and that's the thing. I mentioned just a few minutes ago how while this GM show isn't the largest on our schedule and that it is still one of the largest of its type in the region, we do have some shows at Carlisle that are the largest of their type anywhere.
Right.
A couple of weeks back, at the beginning of June, we hosted the Carlisle Ford Nationals presented by Meguiar's, and we set a show field record of 3,241 cars on the National Parts Depot show field, and it was only about 50 cars off the largest all-time car turnout that we had in the 90s. So I think what you're seeing is a demand for live entertainment. Everybody's been cooped up over the last year.
How about it? Yeah.
And even for those that may still be just dipping their toes back into the social gathering waters, with an 82-acre facility and 16 miles of paved road, there's still plenty of opportunity to social distance. So you had the really great turnout at the Ford show. We had our spring Carlisle show in April, which I think we saw 4 seasons during that week. It snowed early on in the spring show.
I was here.
It snowed during spring, and then by the end of the show, it was in the 70s and sunny. We did our Import and Performance show, which is a great international showcase of cars from around the world. We're here at GM weekend. The Chrysler show is coming up July 9th through the 11th. And then we have our truck show at the beginning of August, Corvettes at Carlisle, presented by Top Flight Automotive at the end of the year, and Fall Carlisle as well, presented by eBay Motors. And truck, by the way, I'd be remiss not to mention A&A Auto Store is the presenting partner of our Carlisle Truck Nationals. So if you're into any of those, whether it's from here on out, Chrysler, truck, Corvette, the swap meet shopping, we are your destination for all of that.
Yeah, and that's the neat thing, because a lot of people aren't really into GM and they just like Ford, so that's the event you come to. And you can't go wrong here at Carlisle. I mean, there's so much to do. I don't know how we're all going to get it into a show, but we'll try. And I want to thank Mike Garland for taking the time to talk to us about GM Carlisle. in this beautiful facility on this beautiful day. Thanks a lot, Mike.
Thanks a lot, Mike, and thank you, Mike.
So here you go. Around Carlisle are these information posters, and they're really nice. If you've never been here, you can find stuff like Manufacturers Midway, the show field. Now each show's set up differently. So if you come to Fall Carlisle, Spring Carlisle, you can find out where your vendors are, the things you're interested in, by looking at these information maps throughout Carlisle. And Carlisle has a bunch of events, as you'll see down here. They have ones in Lakeland, Florida, but all the ones that are here start in Spring Carlisle, which is everything, all types of cars. And then we have Import Carlisle, Ford Carlisle, GM, which is the one we're doing today, and Chrysler's, truck, Corvettes, Fall Carlisle, and also on 3 of the events throughout the year, like Spring, Fall, and Corvette, there's auctions. So if you're looking for a classic car, Corvette, come to the Corvette auction, which, you know, I've been to many times. It's really good. There's no auction this weekend at GM, but there's plenty to see. We're right outside of the Y building, one of the many buildings up here, and this building features the solid lifter showroom, meaning that all the cars in here, just about all of them, have the biggest engines that you could buy from Chevrolet. So all the buildings are labeled at the top, the T building, the Y building, the R building, so they're easy to find throughout the show. So let's go inside the Y building and see some of these rare Chevrolet, Pontiac, and General Motors automobiles. Okay, does this face look familiar? You should recognize it. It was on a couple episodes. It's the L78 68 Chevelle with the Buick interior, here in the solid lifter showroom at Carlisle. This building is packed for rare cars. And they invited me to bring this one up, even though it's not pretty, even though it's not finished, but it is original and a cool car. 1968 Chevelle, 396, 375, 4-speed. So we have some original cars in here, but we also have some race cars in here. And this is Brian Henderson from Supercar Restoration and Supercar Workshop. This is one of his babies. And Brian, tell us about this special 72 Camaro race car.
This car here, it was local to me. As a young guy going to the racetrack, this was one of my favorite cars of the day when Wally had it. Well, Wally still had it. I just got it off the original owner here about a few months ago. Heard word that he might be interested in selling it, so I looked him back up. He didn't know me because I was just a punk kid at the time, but went to see Wally, and you know, you're kind of always a little bit nervous meeting somewhat of a hero of ours, but but he was like super receptive to it, and found out what we did, and he was like, if it's going to go somewhere, he said, I'd like to keep it local. So it's a long story short, he was about 2 miles from our house all this time, didn't even know, you know, and he lives in the sticks. You would never be able to find his house from the road because he lives way back in there. But went to look at the car, and it is exactly the same condition as he raced it in 1972. The same paint job, the same drive line, the same everything.
Was it in good condition? Like
You see it.
pretty much as you
Now,
see it? You
Joe
serviced
and I-
it?
Yeah, we serviced this, went through it. We did pull the motor and transmission out, cleaned up some things just to make it look fresher, but we reused every single piece right down to the hoses and clamps. Anything he used, we used exactly. The only upgrade that he did to it is he just wanted to nostalgia race it at one point, and they made him put the braided lines on for safety. But at this point in time, Joe and I, when we get more time, we want to take and get rid of that stuff and go back to the original photos where it had the rubber lines and
Rubber hose, and yeah.
Yeah, because I don't care if we ever competitively race it again or anything like that. It's just kind of a snapshot of what race cars are really like, and it's kind of fun when you have cars like these that have the battle wounds and scars, and the old racers go, Brian, these are what these cars really look like in the pits. They look great from the stands, but we leaned on them, we wrenched on them, we threw stuff on them. He said so, but you know, it's kind of neat to see, and you don't see too many, I think, pretty well-preserved race cars.
Period, correct. I mean, that's what's cool, like you say, that other than the Russell fittings there, it's the way it was back when they raced it. Yeah. So he raced it from what, 72 to?
He raced it from 72 probably to 77, somewhere in that range, and then just periodically after that, a little bit here and a little bit there. Like he said, life got in the way, you know, and so he just kind of salted it away, and Keystone Raceway and then PID, which places he would go, they'd have a nostalgia day, so he would dig it out for nostalgia day and, you know, race it a little bit here and there just for, you know, one weekend or whatever. But You know, he got to the point where he said he's thinking about, you know, getting out of the car. So when we first looked at it, it hadn't run forever. And he had the valves backed off and everything. And I said, Wally, I said, I'm buying a car, I don't even know that it runs. He goes, oh, it runs, I guarantee it. I said, well, here's what I want you to do. I said, we'll bring it to home, gave a couple, I said, well, come over, go through it with me, show me everything, all the tricks, you know, set the valves again and everything. He goes, no problem. So he came over, we went through the whole car one afternoon, and I think it really excited him to get working on the car again. So did everything, and they go to start it, this thing won't start. It won't start, it won't start. So I'm like, well, let's chase some problems, and we found out it didn't have any sparks. So here it ended up, all it was like a $5 condenser. And I had some laying around. I put a brand new one on it, and it fired up just like right now. And it's like, so.
What a cool car.
Running, you know, then before the show here, we decided let's go ahead and clean up what he did. And he saw the car right before he brought it down. He was like pretty happy. He said, you know what, I don't think it ever looked this nice when it was new. I said, oh, I'm sure it did, but he, you know, but
well, Brian, I'm glad you got the car. You're the right guy to get it, and you did a great job preserving its history. And
this is what we want to just keep it.
Absolutely,
as is,
I totally get it, and I wish more people would think like that instead of redoing them all perfect.
Well,
this
we
is
do perfect
good
all day.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
We do, and
we
that,
do a lot of perfect all day.
Yep.
So, you know, some of our other cars that are here for the Saw Lifter Showroom, they just finished the '69 Yenko Z28 and the ZL1 over there. So those are really like the perfect end of the
perfect
hobby.
end.
This
is
kind of
the real
the
end.
fun side of it too.
Yeah.
So,
well, we're going to look at that Z28, and you can tell us about that one, and then we'll move on to the ZL1. And
sounds great.
All right.
Thanks for the interview.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
All right, Brian. All right, so first of all, I want to thank Brian for inviting me here with the 68 Chevelle. I'm having a ball, and I should know this, but yesterday I had to ask who this guy was. And this is Don Yanko of Yanko Chevrolet, synonymous with performance Camaros, Novas, Chevelles, Corvettes. And this is a Yanko Z28 that Brian and his crew just restored, and this is perfection. Brian, tell us about this rare Z28 on the lift.
Well, this Camaro here was ordered by a Yanko salesman, believe it or not, in the spring of '69. He took a delivery of a '69 Hugger Orange automatic 427 Yanko Camaro. That's what he drove through the spring. And he said it got a little bit too much for him, so he decided to order the C28 to replace it with. So he orders this thing, comes in, and of course he said that being at Yanko, you don't leave anything alone. So he said, next thing I know, we're modifying the car and doing some things to it. He said I ended up with a car that was every bit as nasty as the 427 car was. But yeah, they ended up putting a set of GM headers on the car, chambered exhaust. They did the mag wheels, gear change, all kind of engine performance upgrades. And the unique badging, it's got the 427, kind of the reserved 427 headrest decals that the 427 cars, but this car got that as well. And it was used as not only his personal car, but a demonstrator as well. So can you imagine a young guy coming in and say, hey, I'd like the 69 Z28. Well, why don't we take you out in this thing, see what you can do.
Oh, my goodness.
And even the traction bars are Yanko's own design. Those are actually their own special traction bars for the car. So, but yeah, we found the car a few years ago, and I knew about it for about 30. And we got the car, and one of my good clients bought the car, and we just finished the rest. Yeah, we just finished the rest. Matter of fact, he hadn't even seen it yet. He's supposed to be here this weekend to see the finished product.
Well, Brian, I'll tell you what, you can see it. I mean, Brian asked if we should put it down off the lift, on the lift. You can just see the perfect body work, the detail, and we're going to get some pictures of the underside. And that's the cool thing about the Solid Lifter Showroom. You not only get to see the cars on the ground, you get to see them on a lift, and they judge everything. I mean, clamps, everything has to be just so for the original cars.
The nice thing about the SLS is we don't judge anything here. We just bring cool cars in and display them, and that's for other shows. We don't. Yeah. I mean, when the time comes, if it goes to a national event, it'll be ready to go there. But this show's kind of low key.
Yes,
for years and years and years, a lot of guys were a little bit leery about bringing a car because they were worried about this kind of car, and well, mine's not that nice. And I said, look, that's not what I'm about. I just want cool, real cars. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to worry about how the Carter pin was bent. You don't have to worry about the right nut or bolt. I said, just as long as it's a real cool car, and that's so. Really we kind of we kind of had that. So we get really cool barn find cars now. And the years ago, that wasn't like a thing. Like
you wouldn't do that.
Yeah, a lot of guys didn't want to show those kind of cars, and now it's kind of a big deal to do that. But yeah, we invite everybody. If it's cool and you're and you want to come, that's kind of how we do it.
So make sure you check out the Solid Lifter Showroom if you get the GM Carlisle next year. All right, thanks, Brian. How about this beautiful Z01 Camaro? I'm here with the owner, Don Martins, and he wants to talk about this car. This is another one that came out of Supercar Workshop. So tell us about this rare Z01 69 big block Camaro.
Well, the car was originally built to make it legal for super stock drag racing in the National Hot Rod Association super stock ranks. In order to be legal for super stock, you had to produce at least 50 of a specific car and engine option.
And how many of these did they make?
They made actually, the first order was for 50, and they actually made an additional 19 after the other dealers found out about the first order of 50 that came out.
Okay, so what makes it so special if they only made this many?
Well, it was built to run in Super Stock C and Super Stock C Automatic, which was back in the 69, it was basically the Chrysler territory with big wedge motors or Hemi motors in cars. And Fred Gibb of La Harpe, Illinois, was a dealer who believed in winning on Sunday, sells on Monday.
Right, that's true. Yeah.
So
Wow.
he got together with Vince Piggin sometime during 1968 and conjured up this idea of building 50 Z01s. Now the Z01 was built for Can-Am racing in the chaparrals.
And the Z01 is an all aluminum 427 big block.
Yes.
The block and all was aluminum, not just the heads, which was pretty, for 1969 to build an aluminum block, that was special. Yeah.
Oh yes, it was.
Yep. That took some real engineering. Well, Don, I'll tell you what, it is a beautiful car. They did a beautiful job, and it's probably the rarest Camaro that you'll ever see. So
I've owned it since June 12, 1976. So
Oh,
I'm
really?
actually the second longest Z01 owner in history, only to be beat out by Kenny Barnhart in Elgin, Illinois, who has the original car that he ordered brand new from Fred Gibb.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Well, there's no sense in me asking you if you want to sell it then, right?
Well, everything's available for a price. You know that saying.
Yeah, but
so-
to have it since '76, that's
Right,
terrific.
It's my lifelong project
Yeah.
that a lot of my friends and relatives were betting I would never complete.
And you did it. So good job, man. And thanks for bringing it here to the GM Carlisle for all of us to enjoy.
Well, thank you for the interview. I
welcome.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Don. All right, so we're here with Mike Garland, and we're standing aside of a very special Corvette. Mike, tell us about this car.
Well, I've never claimed to be a car expert, but I do know that this car is very special. This is the class-winning 1960 24 Hours of Le Mans number 3 Cunningham Corvette. It was piloted in part by John Fitch, and this car, as I mentioned, not only won its class during that 1960 24 Hours of Le Mans race, but then it was featured and chronicled in a documentary called The Quest, created and produced by Michael Brown. So this car was one that Chipmiller longed for a very long time. He had seen pictures, he had heard stories. This was Chipmiller's dream car. And along with the help of Kevin McKay, he was finally able to obtain this car, and they worked to meticulously restore it to what it would have looked like during its racing heyday.
Wow. Chip was one of the 2 people that founded Carlisle, and he had a really extensive Corvette collection. And as Mike said, it took him a long time to get this one, and this is a piece of history right here, folks.
The greatest part about this car maybe isn't the fact that it won the race in Le Mans, and that was a triumph in and of itself, but as a means to fulfill his father's lifelong dream that he was unable to see through due to his untimely passing in 2004, Lance Miller, Chip's son and president of the Chipmiller Amyloidosis Foundation, took this car from right here in central Pennsylvania back to Paris, France in 2012, and along with one of the original drivers, John Fitch, did a ceremonial lap around the course to celebrate its triumph 50 years later.
Oh my God, that's amazing, Mike. We're going to have the good luck today to talk with Lance, and he's going to tell us more about the Chip Miller Foundation. So here we are with Lance Miller, that's Chip's son. Also, the other partner in Carlisle was Bill Miller. They weren't related, But they started this great show for muscle car back in what, 77, Lance? Is that right?
74.
74.
Yeah.
See, I was at 79, and I've been a vendor here since 85.
We love
So,
you. That's awesome.
and I love this place. I mean, I've been coming here for years, but I had the honor to interview Lance today. He's going to tell us about his father's foundation. We lost Chip a few years back to a rare disease. So, Lance, tell us about what you're doing.
Absolutely. Well, my father passed away in 2004 from amyloidosis, very rare disease. And what that is abnormal protein that builds up within your organs. So we all want protein in our body, obviously, but you don't want abnormal. What it does is latch on and doesn't go away. So it continues to build up. And unfortunately, it causes complications. So in my dad's case, it was his heart. And, it just attacked his heart. And literally, you don't want your heart to get attacked. That's what it comes down to. Basically, that's the functioning of all of your body, essentially. And, he passed away from this terrible disease. He was my best friend. He was my mentor. He was just a phenomenal guy. He really was.
I had a dad like that, too, so I feel
So you know the drill. I mean, it's one of those things. It wasn't just my dad passing. It truly was my best friend passing.
Yeah, I hear you.
It killed our family. We decided to form an organization, a foundation called Chipmiller Amyloidosis Foundation, and just honor him, but at the same time spread the word about this terrible disease because it mimics so many other, cancers and diseases. Right. We felt it was important, so why not do it?
So what do you do throughout the year to you raise money, or what do you do?
We raise plenty of funds, thank goodness, and at various we do like surf contests because I have a lot of surfing buddies. That was my background, and obviously a lot of car shows like Corvettes for Chips this weekend.
Yep, I'm familiar with that.
So got a lot of stuff going on there. We have cars that we're raffling off. We have cars that we're sweepstaking off. If you ever heard of the difference, I learned. So I've learned through the years what all these differences are.
That's funny.
But it's all for the better good. I mean, we're just spreading the word about this terrible disease, raising funds. When we garner those funds, we typically distribute them to different organizations that are out there spreading the word about amyloid, whether it's teaching doctors, to learn about this disease. Believe it or not, there's doctors out there that don't know what it is.
It's that rare.
Yeah,
wow.
So it's a lot of fun, and it's very rewarding, and it's a lot of work too. But you know what? He's worth it. So.
He was worth it. And Lance, I just want to thank you for doing this interview. And thank you for Carlisle. And your dad was a good guy, and you are too.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Lance. So how about this beautiful 1970 Judge? Did you ever see one this color? It is a beautiful car. I looked at it last night. It's a Ram Air 3 convertible. And we're here with the owner, Dave, and he's going to tell us about it. Dave, tell us about the colors and what makes this car so special.
Well, it's a Ram Air 3 Judge. It's a convertible. It's a 4-speed.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And the additional rarity are two things. One, it has air conditioning, and it's one of only 14 with air conditioning and a 4-speed. And to my and other Pontiac aficionados, it's the only 3-color Judge convertible made, 4-speed, automatic or otherwise, with the white body, the red interior, and the black top.
The colors are just beautiful. I mean, every time we think of a Judge, it's usually orange, but this one is just special. So how long have you owned it?
I've owned it for 3 years. My son and I collect Pontiacs. I had a 455 HO convertible I sold to my friend. We saw this come up for sale. We weren't really into the white color, but when we saw it in person, it was just unbelievable, and we got it, and
there it is.
It drives great.
Well, Dave, I want to thank you for bringing it here to GM Carlisle for everybody to see, and you take good care of this car because it sure is pretty.
Thank you very much. Have a good weekend.
You too. All right, so now we're in Building T, and this year they have a special display of Vegas. The Vega is 50 years old, so there's a bunch of really nice cars in here, original cars, hot rods. We even got one with a tent on the back you can go camping in. So look at this one, a 1974 Vega, Spirit of America. In 1974, they made a bunch of Impalas, Novas, red, white, and blue. Got some special stickers on it, white on white on white. And this is a special car because it's from Pottstown. It's Paulie Zimba, my old friend. Paulie has a race car Vega for many years, and he picked this up a few years back. It's a Survivor. It hasn't been restored, and what a cool little car. When's the last time you saw a Yanko Vega and a Spirit of America Vega? Probably been a while, right? So here's some more show cars in Building T. In the background there, we got a beautiful red Fiero. And that was a Pontiac car they made, and they have a big collection of Fieros up here at Carlisle. Now, today's only Friday, so some of the show cars didn't show up yet. But tomorrow up in the field, I would bet there's probably 50 to 100 Fieros. It's beautiful 63 split window Corvette. Now, this one's not original. This had some cool modifications done to it. And, of course, this lovely 77 Pontiac Trans Am. Hot rod, but original looking. And on the other side is a nice 57 Handyman wagon. So there's a little bit for everybody up here at GM Carlisle. These are the show cars in the building. And now we're going to head out to the flea market to see if there's any parts you need. All right, so now we're out in the flea market. There's so much to see here at Carlisle. If you need automotive parts, either new, reproduction, there's a manufacturer's midway where they sell all new UMI Performance, Eastwood, different companies like that bring their products up for sale. There's used parts, the guy that's cleaning out his garage. There's books, memorabilia. If you have a car and don't know how to fix it, you got repair manuals, factory assembly manuals. They're copies of the original assembly manual. So there's just so much to see here. We can't possibly squeeze it all into a show, but I'm trying to give everyone all the benefits of coming to Carlisle, PA for one of their many shows. And you know, all this walking around, I'm getting hungry. So right up there is the food court. And I used to call it the food court. Now they actually named it the food court. And they have all kind of homemade Pennsylvania Dutch foods, pizza, ice cream. So on the other side of the building is the Women's Oasis, where a lot of the ladies go, and they have, you know, lady products and Avon and that type of stuff. So there's so much to do at Carlisle. Make sure you pencil it in for this year. There's plenty of events left this summer, and next year they'll be here again. So thanks for tuning in to Car Stories on PCTV, and I hope you enjoyed the show.